I'm gonna regret this. A like, nothing happened, and no one's here yet. How'd they get a like? It's Finch. How's it going? I'm hoping we can get Snow Droplet in today. That would be ideal. I'm doing great. We got a brand new grill, cooked up some mean burgers today. Feeling good. Feeling good. Get situated here. Now, you may have seen in the Discord, I mentioned we might be doing something a little bit different today, which is why I'm kind of hoping we get more people in. As a matter of fact, I was pinger in the Discord. Oh, you saw that? No, no, I had a dilly bar before I hopped on, and I was just chewing on the stick absent-mindedly. No, that has nothing to do with anything. I was like, what popsicle? What? I was like, oh yeah. Oh man. So what do you mean sus? Man can't chew on a popsicle stick in the privacy of his own home on live streaming to the entire internet. Never mind that. Anyways, today, remember this from last week? I have almost everything. Well, it's not almost everything. It's everything I was able to find of all the drawings and such that I did in my youth, in my younger days. So I thought it might be fun to go through all this and see all my old terrible drawings from the past. Let's see earlier drawings of villains that actually ended up in the books, villains that have not ended up in the books yet, and I don't know why I keep saying villains, heroes as well. But also there are just so now when I say that I've been like creating superheroes and villains and characters pretty much my whole life since I was a kid, I mean that literally. The first one I ever made, I made when I was 5 years old, and he's still canon to this day. After much, adjustment because I was 5. But no, I have I have some drawings and things from when I was like 7 or 8, and they are really bad and quite funny. So, so if we want to look through some of those things, today. See where all the where it all started. Because honestly, some of these, if I tweak like their story and like adapt them to like the universe, I might still be able to use some of these. Well, okay. Let's see. I was 8, okay, when I made these, okay? So I may have been. I mean, some of them are like decent, but others are like, what the fuck? Let's see. Any bad ones? I don't know if they're like outright bad. Bad ideas, more like. Because I used to draw a lot as a kid, so they might be like actually decent for a kid, of course. But I don't know. I think that sounds like a fun time. For you, maybe at least. This might be hell, bringing all this shit up for me. Let's see here. This no. Okay. Let's start. Let me see if there's anything from the books. Recall. It's quite a shame because I had like 2 notebooks. One of them I was just drawing heroes in, and then another one I drew like their unmasked faces, and I have no idea where any of them are. I don't even know if I actually own them still. Well, for starters here, we got Red Jasper from the first book. That's the first image I believe I ever drew of Jasper. And slowly but surely the design changed. But that was the first one. That was the original. And then this guy, Gas Masker. He was intended to be a mastermind level villain. Doing chemicals, and then each one of these like round bits and like circle are like ports that he could like expel chemical gas out of the suit. So he was meant originally to be a big time villain, and I suppose he still could be. Like, these are all people and characters that could potentially be in future chapters of the book or future books themselves. I had this big monster guy named Atrocity. It was kind of like yeah, so he's got like the chemicals like stored in his suit, and then he can like mix them up and like activate them and just deploy them as needed, like while he's fighting or just in general as like a sneak attack. Yeah. He was a very like poison based villain. Oh, this was a good one. I actually still plan to use this one. Madclad. He's got the ability to encase his body in any material. Like this is the iron one, obviously. But like rocks, gold, wood, any material, he's able to completely encase his body in that. I It's really funny because like while I'm holding up the pictures, I have to like get it in frame enough so I can see like the camera, but I can't see any of the like text from this angle. So when I pull it away is when I see all the typing that you put in. Okay, that's pretty much everyone in that. I did not get very far in this notebook. Let's see, did I have... Oh boy. Goodness, there's another folder. Was there anything relevant in here at all? Oh, Jeebus. Okay. Oh, there is! So this was the first design for Nearsight and Farsight that I did. They're twin brothers, and one of them can... Obviously, it's Farsight there. He can fly, and he's also got, like, telescopic vision, so he can see stuff from really far away. And then there's Nearsight, who's like a turtle, and he's got a indestructible shell on his back. And then he's got microscopic vision, so he can see down to like subatomic particles. And they work together. I mean, obviously they're a duo, brother team. I think actually a friend of mine pitched that to me, and I just liked the idea so much that I ended up making them a design. Yeah, everything else in here is just not related to any of that whatsoever. I'm sorry. There's like a lot of... Most of the stuff in here is things that my friends or someone else has made for me. And I just came across... I had my sister paint a bunch of memes for me. And I haven't seen these in like 5 years. This is the funniest thing, just randomly coming across that. Oh my god, I am turning red just laughing at all of this. Okay, we need to get back on topic. Ugh. Man, it is a travesty that no one else is here right now. Okay. Moving on. We have... I know, they told me that was Hannibal Buress. I don't know what that means. Next up, we have Blood Slayer. And quite important. I don't know how to introduce this team, but he's part of a team called the Manipulators. As a matter of fact, I might have another member. Ah, yes. Bone Snap as well. He's the leader. So there's 5 of them. Bone Snap, Blood Slayer, Electrolock, Paper Cut, and Woodwork. And each of them have like full manipulation control over, that type of material. And they get pretty... I wouldn't say pretty important lore-wise, but they are a pretty cool team. Blood Slayer, though, however, is important because he will be the first introduction to vampires in my universe. Because in the Chris and Lloyd universe, vampires are different in the way that each one of them gets a personal like blood ability. Like for him, he's able to like absolutely manipulate blood, like anyone's blood as he wants. Um, there's another one who can like change his own blood into armor. There's another one who can like forge his blood into weapons. Like each vampire has a different like unique blood ability to them. Let's see. All right, so this is a bunch of them. I just drew their heads because I wanted to, just get their basic like mask faces out of the way. I'm trying to see if there's anybody relevant. Firefly right there. Clearly, I don't know who else that would be. There's Gauntlet. He was the guy with the gold armor that fought Red Jasper out in the field in the book. There's another example of that bar straight down the face design that I came across. Because I moved that away from No Man and actually gave it to this guy instead. This. God dang it, paper. This one right here, this blue one. That was the original like face design for Frostbite. And then that one was Sketch right there. Trying to see. This guy on the end here, his name is Captain Contraption, and he is eventually what the guy who invented the cloning machine will become. I don't want to give too much spoilers, but he becomes a superhero eventually as well. Got Candle Wax's design up there. I don't want to give away too much. Did I have I name dropped Yellow Jacket a couple of times, but he hasn't made an actual appearance yet. Because there are like people in these pictures that will appear and will become very relevant. Like Ku. Like he's gonna eventually long game, he's gonna be very important in the storylines. But like not even introduced yet. We have. Let's see, how many characters are there with stretchy powers? Okay, he does not have stretchy powers. Okay, the original design of him, he had springs like in his arm so he could launch his hand out, because his ability is that he can make when he makes physical contact with someone, he can absorb their powers, like take them away so that they don't get their powers, and he like steals them away from them. So I gave him like springy arms so that he could like reach and like take it from them. But I think I might have tossed the actual like spring arms aside, because there's some stuff that like sounds cool when you're a kid, but then you're just like, why are his arms springs? Does his hands get cut off? And you just don't really like pay attention to the practicalities of things. There's trying to find interesting stuff. That was kind of cool. Fright Light. He's got light-based powers. He might be the only person in like the continuity that's better at light-based powers than Julie is. Because I mean, obviously Julie's gonna get better, but like at her peak, he might be the only. There's several people with light based powers, but he might be the only one better at them than her. Really bad. Oh my god, I haven't even thought about this. There was a villain I came up with a long time ago named 3D, and he had the power to like bring basically kind of like what Sketch does, but he's able to like bring things like out of movies. Like I imagine him like bringing a T-Rex out of somebody watching Jurassic Park, and he would just bring the T-Rex like right out the screen. That might not be a bad idea for like a one-off villain in one of the chapters. I'll have to keep that in my back pocket. Any 2D objects, really. So he can like bring drawings off the page as well, like Sketch. But he doesn't have to be the one to draw them. With Sketch, it's got to be his drawing, and he's got to be the one to lay it out, and then he can bring it to life. But with 3D, it's just got to come off. So, but that's the thing is, I don't think he has any artistic talent himself. So it would have to be somebody else makes something, and then he would have to bring it off after that. Okay, now we have gotten. Well, hang on. So I did some doodles on my math workbooks in high school, and that's the first image of Falcon 5. I didn't want to get rid of these, so I just tore it off. And then I thought I had. What the hell? Okay, that's the image. That's an image of Jetframe. I don't know why I add so much like metal and spikes and shit to his face. He does not have that anymore, or at all. I had a bunch of them. I don't know where they went. All right. Are you ready for the worst part of this? The worst part. When I was 8, I believe I was 8. I made this. I made another database when I was a kid. And man, there are some horrible ideas in here. There are some that are still around in some manner or something, but I don't know. So our first one in here, I cannot express how much I was 8. I was so 8 when I made this. So bear with me. The first one we have is Pyroglyphic. Oh, here we go. Hang on. I'll put a pause on that. Oh, like if he like pulled, like say it was watching Star Wars and he pulled like Obi-Wan Kenobi off, would it just be like Ewan McGregor just like what's going on here? No, it would be like the real deal. Like as it were in the movie. Please don't use my character to bring fan fiction to life. It's tempting, I know. Anyways, first one up, Pyroglyphic. This one is still canon in some way, but not as poorly. I will spare you the lore that I attempted to give to these people. I think the funniest bit is that as a kid, I had no concept of height and weight and the disparity between them. He is 6'8" and 139 pounds. I mean, I suppose he is decomposing, but I don't know. That doesn't sound right. And then for a villain, I had Tiger Shark. I feel like if I used colored pencils, it wouldn't have turned out so shitty, but instead of markers. But I don't know. I still kind of like the design. Yeah, despite how bad it is, I have standing here. He is still canon. He is in the world at some point. But not. He doesn't look like that because having one big fin and one big tiger arm, and then gills, and then a tail and no legs is quite a bad idea. Come to think of it. But back to this, he is 7'10", which I mean, I suppose he's a monster. That's fair. And 237 pounds. Why I decided to give them height and weight disparities, I don't know. Oh my god, here we go. Here we go. This is probably the worst one. And in this one at least. A villain named Keychain. See, one hand is keys, and then the other hand is a chain. Get it? Get it? It's like a pun or something. He's 5'10" and 173 pounds. That's a terrible idea. You know what? I could probably salvage the character if I just turned him into like a low level like burglar, and he's just got a chain on him, and he's just got like a knack for breaking in through locks and stuff. I could probably salvage that. I'm not gonna, but I probably could. Each one of his fingers is a different is a different lock picking tool, which would probably be horrible for everyday life. And then at the bottom we have the hacker. I planned to do something. I made the door with. You can probably reuse each one. So the hacker, as a kid, he was gonna be like my plot twist villain, because he was gonna start out on this team I had, and then on a mission he would just randomly go missing. Like, he would be like what Min and Max are, and Frostbite. He would be like the tech support guy, but his face is always like shrouded in a hood, and then he was gonna go missing, and then it would turn out later that he would come back like as a villain. I had no idea why. I always thought that would be cool for some reason. Next hero we got up here, we got Yellow Jacket. I've been talking about him a lot. He can fly, he can shrink other people. Poor guy is 5'3", apparently. That must be after he shrunk down. That sucks. And then I actually retroacted this. There's another guy, Squid Kid. I was pretty proud of that design, actually. But he's also still canon, surprisingly. He works with Tiger Shark. And they're kind of like goons to like a higher like underwater villain, which I will probably have to make at some point. I mean, obviously he's not 10 years old anymore. That's ridiculous. But no, I thought those are pretty interesting because he's got like regenerative limbs and stuff. I really wish I could just come up with like reasons on the spot to introduce these characters, which is kind of why I'm writing Whip Hand and Valor volumes episodically. Like, as much as I want there to be like this giant overarching story in each book, it's really hard to, because they're gonna just be, it's gonna be like a villain of the week episode. It's like a TV show basically as a book. I mean, there is gonna be like an overarching plot and big villain that I'm planning, obviously. But making each book have a overarching thing is difficult. And that all right, next up we got Razor. Again, probably very bad design for everyday life, seeing as he has no hands. But that's good. And then actually, this one did get brought up. Dagger Moth. If you recall, there was in the interview in Chris and Lloyd Want Superpowers, they were talking with Firefly, and Firefly was talking about how he was fighting Dagger Moth at one point, and they were just throwing the ball of light like back and forth like catch. All right, now we have two characters that have completely gotten just erased, just deleted. We got Finn. He's a little like underwater mermaid kind of guy, merman, I guess. He's got claws, big fin, big sharp teeth. Suppose I just needed a man. Again, I had no concept of like height and weight. Why is he 5'6"? That's terrible. And then a villain that does not exist outside this book, Ruffian. He's just got like 4 big arms, super strength, extra limbs. I don't know. I could probably squeeze that in again. See, the benefit of this is that like I'm gonna get ideas talking about these things where I can like squeeze them into the books, and then you'll see them in the books, and then you'll have the exclusivity of being like, oh, from earlier from the stream. Oh, geez. Okay, we're getting bad here. Racer. He's a little speedy looking guy. I believe I just drew that out of nowhere in like 5th or 6th grade, and I thought he looked cool. That he was going to be my like super speed guy. Yeah. And then this one, I remember what happened here. We have Pulse. So I'll actually read that. He releases sonic waves from his palms. He also has a protective shield on his back. That's not true. So I don't know if I can like get it to focus enough, but like I had originally just drawn his body like really, really like fat and round, and then I didn't like how round I made his like big potato body. So then in pen, I drew like the outline of his like body there, and then just like redrew the back so it looked like a shield. And you can see like he has a protective shield that his back is written in pen, like a clearly different writing utensil of the first time I did this. I was just like, he looks too much like a potato. On the spot, he's got a shield on his back. All right, well, with this one, I'm just cooked. I can't even do anything with that. That's just straight up Cyborg. That's just Cyborg. Why is he 7'8"? That's inhuman. Is he Shaquille O'Neal? Why is he 7'8"? That's crazy. And not only that, he lives in the mountains. Perfect place for for robots. He's 7'8". Man, that's a horrible, horrible idea. Also, not my idea. Cyborg already exists. And then I had a guy named Beam. He's got like big laser beams built into his wrist and on his head. I actually really like this design. He's not called this anymore. I have a guy named Bulk. He's a genetic experiment like a bunch of other guys. I like the yellow skin and then the purple polka dots on him. But I had redone his name. I don't know if you'd only read the Chris and Lloyd stuff on my page, but a long time ago, I had started writing a book called Monster Camp. It's still up on my page if you want to give it a look. And he was in there. Well, I reused him, and I changed his name to Gargan for like gargantuan because he's huge. He's 8'3", which is actually making sense because he's massive. But yeah, I know I started digging through like a couple other guys. Yeah, he's massive. He's 8'3". He's huge. He's gigantic. He's got super size and super strength. I needed like a big powerhouse. I'm gonna ignore that. Low taper fade. Okay. If you say so. All right, so this is probably like one of the most difficult to work with villains I did, Stink Bomb. So he was a villain with like grime and pollution and like garbage, and like he lived in the dump and he wanted to just I don't remember his reasoning, but he had like disease and dirt and grimy garbage powers or something. Or he was gonna like turn the whole world into a landfill or something. I don't remember what he did, but I thought Stink Bomb was a bad name. So then, of all things, I changed it to Filthy Foot, which because of the internet, I can't call him that anymore. So in a last-ditch effort, I changed his name to Filthy Face, and I've done absolutely nothing with his character or planning at all. So that might just be another one that I give up on and just, leave it in the landfill that he belongs in. Technically, this guy's still in there, but I have nothing to do with him. Pounder, he had his hands cut off or something, and he replaced it with like solid gold, like metal boxing gloves. And then I got like a little goo guy named Morph. I thought that was brilliant at the time because he's their enemies, and he's got like, like physical like punching powers and stuff, but that wouldn't do anything to like a squishy shapeshifter, so we'd have to think outside the box. Okay, so these I actually think the designs are terrible. Don't get me wrong here, but it's not a bad idea on the surface. And I actually did kind of come around to doing a different thing of this, but I had like a group of like slime villains, and they each could do something different. So the first one can change his shape. Like he's still made of green goo and stuff, but he can like turn into different whatever shapes he needs. The purple one can like shapeshift to like copy people. The blue one can just shapeshift his size. There's the there's the orange one, and he can change his state of matter, so he can be solid, liquid, gas, plasma, what have you. And then the red one, which can change his composition, so he can be like water or gold or whatever. What if they mix accidentally? That, in all honesty, if I do end up like doing something with this team, that's what's going to happen. Is they're all gonna just like mix and coalesce each other, and they're gonna be like a big hybrid kind of thing, you know? Kind of like what they did with the Life Foundation symbiotes in Marvel, where they all just mix together into one thing. One giant gooey schizophrenic. I don't know why he'd be schizophrenic, but if you say so. Next, okay, this one again. It would be more like a hive mind, if anything, at that point. Surprisingly, there's a lot in here that are still like canon to the like Chris and Lloyd universe. We got another hero, Swiss Army Man. Now, obviously, no relation to the movie. Fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it, it's one of the best musical scores in a movie I've ever seen. Unrelated to the superhero Swiss Army Man. So he's got different like attachments that just like, I don't know how to say it. Like they go like they just change and switch out as he needs them. And then here's a villain I have not like. This guy got thrown in the receptacle. I don't know what that is. I'll say sure. We have Incinerate, a fire breathing guy. If you want any idea at how, yeah, the design's pretty good, right? It's a cool design, at least for when I was 8. This is how bad I was at coming up with superhero origins, right? He's able to breathe fire because he accidentally swallowed his cigar and it fell into his lungs. Now he can breathe fire and spit lava. Wow. That makes sense, doesn't it? All right, and then, and I even drew like a little promo on the back promoting the next one. Like people were gonna buy it. I only made the one of each. All right, I made a second one just because I had so much fun actually doing the first one. Oh geez. Okay, this one I want to be canon still, but I have no idea what to do with it, how to translate it into like, you know, current universe. We have the mutant. He's just like a mix of like all different kinds of creatures' DNA. So he's got several different like body parts all mixed matched and stuff. I think in concept the idea is cool. And I actually might have reworked it into a different character that I don't want to spoil. But I don't know what I'm doing with that one yet. This one, I literally had, this character did not exist until I drew this, and it did not exist after that. I don't know why I added this, but Phase. I thought that I think that drawing is cool, walking through the wall like that. But like, That's not a character. Like there was no pre-existing moments where that character was before. And then I had another trio here, Blaze, Voltage, and Plutoni. I tried to rework this in high school, and it kind of didn't go anywhere. And I really don't have. I think the only one of these that managed to like survive like the refinement process was Voltage, and he ended up being another character named Electrovile, and he was a like he's completely different because like in here he's like he's like a metal exoskeleton that's just like electrified and like covered in lightning. Oh, what was that guy in Teen Titans, Overload? That was just like like Overload. He was just like a computer chip, and then like the rest of his body was just living electricity. It was kind of like that, but I thought with like a metal exoskeleton, like it would have a more human shape better. But yeah, those all went absolutely nowhere. Oh, great. Here's another one I'm going to get sued to oblivion on. Juggernaut. Honestly, most of these I was just looking in a dictionary for cool words and I came across that one. I don't think I'd even like heard of the X-Men character at that point. It was just Juggernaut. It means big, strong guy, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I did that. I had Bomb Boy. You'll never guess what he does. He's got bombs. Rip CNL Juggernaut. Yeah, no, sorry. Never coming back. Ruffian might have a chance, but Juggernaut, I will get sued. And then at the bottom here, we got Mount. I've always wanted to do something with this character. He's got like a little miniature mountains on his head and back, and then he tenses up, and then his body like grows as he does that. But it takes like a lot of physical strength out of him. Oh my god. What the hell was I even thinking here? Okay. As a kid, I was not coming up with great ideas all the time. I was very interested in like elements like the periodic table, you know, and like different metals and minerals. Like I had a whole rocks and minerals book, and like I was on a tiny little geology kick or something. I have three. I have Zincon and Aluminos. I don't even know what that means. It's just a guy made of zinc and another little guy made of aluminum. How threatening is that? Yeah, I wonder. There's a one at the bottom, Wolfranite. That one's kind of hard though. That kind of goes hard. Because Wolfranite's a metal that like knives are made of, so he's got like knife claws. I could probably rework that. Wolfranite as a name also just goes hard. And then I had another like big bruiser guy named Boulder. This big rock man. And then Chaos. Chaos, he was the big bad. Remember I said like the first superhero I made was when I was 5, and he's still canon to this day. Chaos was the big villain to that original superhero. And my parents somewhere have like the first comic book I ever made, like I ever drew as a kid. I drew like really bad comic books of this character, and they managed to hang on to like the first one I ever drew. I'll have to see if I can find it somewhere because it's pretty funny. But I believe I believe Chaos was in that one. I don't know. He was always the bad guy. He was the big villain. Do. I think that's it for that folder. I'll have to look because I swear I had a hero notebook somewhere. I thought I found it. I don't know where it went. Don't know. But however, I do have another kind of treat because this folder relates to all the other stuff I have on my Quotev page. So, again, Finch, I don't know how much of my page you dove into, but before I started doing Chris and Lloyd stuff, I had a series of short stories for something I was planning on publishing called Tales from the Straitjacket. It was going to be 4 little short stories. And then I was going to put them all together and publish it as a book. And I didn't end up doing that because all the characters in there are basically, I just took the names, personalities, and physical descriptions and I just changed them and just made them like regular people for the book. Like I just borrowed the characters and just kind of like translated them into more like a normal setting. Cause like at the time I didn't want to do like every other story on my page is like characters from the Chris and Lloyd universe that are like normalized. Cause I didn't want to do the actual Chris and Lloyd universe and all the superheroes and stuff. Cause I thought people would think that was weird and stupid. So I did just like regular kind of stories, like mystery, thriller, sci-fi, fantasy, whatever, and just kind of like use the same characters, but without their powers and whatnot. I'm so glad that I gave up on that and just started doing the Chris and Lloyd anyways, because that stuff is infinitely more popular than the toned down stuff I did. But I did draw like hand-drawn covers for the other stories if you want to check them out. This is for Undead. It is broken sunglasses and a pool of blood and then a limp hand there. The premise of this story, if you're interested in checking it out, if you haven't already, is that these 2 friends are drag racing in the middle of the night, and one of them hits a bad turn and goes off the cliff and dies. And then after which, the other friend goes home, and then the next morning, the guy who died off the cliff is just right at the door, knocking at his door, ready to hang out the next day. And he's just completely like baffled, like what happened? And then, oh, it's just a dream, whatever. But then it happens again. So the main character's losing his mind because his best friend keeps dying and then just showing up at his front door the next day, and he doesn't understand why. So I thought that was cool. The second story in it is called Charlie and Ivan, and they find a machine in the garbage, and they start like pressing buttons on it by accident, and it slips and it presses the wrong button, and then in a big flash they're teleported to like this desert world, and then there are monsters in it. Hang on. There are these ones called the Smilers, and there are these ones called the Scorched Tooth. Well, it's not called Tales from the Straitjacket, but it's broken up into 4 books, and they're under the it's part 2 out of Tales from the Strait. Yeah, but like every character in those stories is like strongly based off. It's one of my superheroes that I didn't want to use. I didn't want to just make them the superhero, so I just made them like a normal person. So and Charlie and Ivan, they go to the desert world, and then they run into like a group of like survivors, bandits, whatever. And then they find out that they didn't get teleported anywhere, like just to another place. They got teleported exactly where they were 5,000 years in the future, and that's where it is. And then they try to get back. That one, Dimitri, the guy that built Meccano in Chris and Lloyd Want Superpowers, Dimitri's in that book. I mean, obviously, he's kind of the same guy, actually. I didn't change him at all. Dang, there was another book. Another story called The Good Half. I believe it was called The Good Half. I don't have a drawing for that one. But then the last one in there is about a group of friends on a camping trip, and they come across a skinwalker that takes the place of one of them, and it's all an accusation of like, you're the monster, can't be me, whatever. And it's called False Friend. So I have a picture of a guy with like half of his face off and the other half's a monster. I put hella work into the. You can tell this was like after everything because it's actually quite decent, but no, I put like hella work into this picture. But yeah, all four of those stories are still on my page. Honestly, if I wanted to, I could probably clean them up and then really publish them as the book. Yeah, none of these guys are in there. And like I said, there was that other story on there called Monster Camp, where Gorgon came from. A lot of my friends read that and they really, really liked it, and they were really sad when I gave up on it because they thought it was really fun. But these were the main characters. Max was the main character. He was called Headcase, and he's got like an indestructible skull. There was Skia, and he's a living shadow basically. And then there was Groundskeeper Jericho, who's kind of like a purple ghosty kind of guy. And then there was the camp counselor, Croc Eater. So there's a bunch of like little fun stories on my page. There's like, again, every single character in there is some kind of hero or villain from the actual universe. So it wouldn't hurt to go back and look through it. Oh, did you ever did you read through A Dangerous World? The story I had on there where it was Michael and Joshua and Hellraven, the demon hunter, because technically that is part of the Chris and Lloyd universe. Yeah, the three supernatural ones. There was the demon hunter, the guy who fought ghosts, and then there was, Michael, the curse collector. In the demon hunter chapters, Hellraven meets up with Miss Fortune, and she's trying to bring his dad back. And then she says, before I do this, I want you to go see someone and talk to him about it. And then he meets up with this guy Grady, and he says like, hey man, like I went through the same thing. I died. I got brought back. And then, my girlfriend said, oh, you're not the same. So she left me. So my advice to you is that if you bring your dad back, don't just like, he might be different, but he's still him. He's still there. He still cares, whatever. That guy that he goes to talk to, that's who the guy who keeps dying in the first book, Undead, that's who he's based off of. So throughout the other stories on my page, you will find names that are the same, and that's because that I didn't want to come up with just random people characters, so I just took characters I had already made from the superhero world and just made them regular people. But I actually don't think I. Oh. Okay, I don't have time. I do not have time. I repeat this, I do not have time. But the only thing left in here is the comics. Like from where No Man is from. The comics that I drew. That's the only thing left in here. I don't have time to do this. We've already been streaming for an hour. I don't have time. Maybe next time. I really don't want to show this to anybody because it was at my worst at writing. I was not good at writing at all when I was doing these. Because I also have. Oh, hey, look at that! It's the original script for the Allware explosion. Wow. That's crazy. I did not think I still had that. But oh my god, no. So I have literally I have this Crank and Shank. This was another book that I tried to write in high school. I had no writing skills in high school. I tell you, this is so bad. This is probably the worst thing I've ever written. It makes no sense. There's no rhyme or reason for why the characters do anything. There's no narrative coherency at all. And all the characters are just completely one note and have nothing to do with each other and say the most random, shittiest things possible. I hold on to this because this is the worst thing I will ever write, and I want to be sure of that. So every once in a while, I'll come back to this and be like, "Oh my god, I'm so glad I don't write like this anymore." But on the bright side, characters are still good in themselves. Obviously, they don't happen this way anymore. But these guys, Crank and Shank, they will be coming to the book. They will be in Whip Hand and Valor Volume 1. I don't know if it's the next episode or the next episode or the next episode, but it is probably the chapter that I am the most excited about to write. I am so anxious excited to write the chapter that they are in. That one's going to be so much fun. I'm not going to have any writer's block whatsoever writing that because I've been thinking about it so often. It's just going to be so much fun and so enjoyable. And I honestly, narratively, if I could just jump and do that one next, I would. But it's got to be put off for a while. It's going to be good though. Trust me. I'm excited about it. Well, that's pretty much everything I have, and I don't have time to go through all the comics again. I will be back next week. I will look everywhere for other notebooks I have, other drawings I have. I will see if my parents still have any of my comics books from when I was like literally 5. But that's all I have for now. I actually have to get going pretty fast here, so I can't drag this out any longer. But thank you for joining, Finch, and for whoever the second person is still watching. I don't know who you are. I don't even know if you know what we're talking about. But thanks. Oh. It's my brother, Finch. It's my brother. Why didn't you say anything before? Were you here last week too? No, I wasn't. So that was somebody else who was just randomly joining the stream last week. That's crazy. Well, I'm glad I didn't go on the rant showing all of my shitty drawings and shitty ideas to just some random person online and that it was someone who already knew about it. But thanks for joining. Fun stream. I enjoyed doing this. I hope we can eventually get more people in on this. Um, I might go through all that stuff again if we get more, but this was fun. And again, thank you for watching. I'll see you next week. Get excited for the chapter tomorrow. I'll catch you later.